Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Let's talk about CART. What is CART?
CART is Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust.
Okay.
An organization that is about 900 clubs right now from Maryland to Florida, 23 different districts, put little plastic blue buckets on the tables of Rotarians every week, and they put in their spare change. CART started in Sumter, South Carolina, Rotary Club in 1995 by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Roger Ackerman, unfortunately, who we lost last year during the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Roger was having a banker speak to his Rotary Club who brought up that every day in the United States, $1 billion worth of coins changes hands.
Wow.
And he got the idea by Rotary people just bringing in their spare change, not large amounts of money, sometimes less than $1. But it took him 4 years. He had taken care of his mother-in-law, not his mother, his wife's mother, for 13 years, and was like me. I took care of my wife for 11 years with Alzheimer's. She was only 50 when she came down with it and was 61 when she passed in 2010. That he had the same idea that I had, that we needed to have more doctors, experimental doctors, research doctors that were looking on the other side. We're looking at other things that the big drug companies were not.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started this. We're now, for the first time in history of CART this year, after growing, we're going to be able to give $1 million in research grants to doctors this year.
Wow.
Now, our grants are not real big. Sometimes $50,000 is not enough for the doctor to pay for his mice to do his experiments.
Mm-hmm.
But it is seed money. It starts them off, and a lot of times other companies will see what they're doing. We have had doctors that got $100,000 grants that the next year got $7-8 million grants from companies, from drug companies that are looking at what they're doing. So CART is trying its damnedest to, get people to look at the fact that 10% of our population is going to die of Alzheimer's. And right now, the problem we're having is 70% of the caregivers. Myself, I had developed diabetes. I put on weight because I had to look after my wife. I developed high blood pressure. It's a stress factor that you wouldn't believe on the caregivers. So we're trying to get the message out to people to please help us. By 2050, right now there are 6 million people with Alzheimer's. By that time, it will be 50 million, and quite honestly, it will bankrupt the medical industry. We've been working on this since 1906, when Rotary was started in 1905, and a year later, Dr. Alzheimer's was studying a lady who had been in an insane asylum for 6 years. That's where they put people back in those days who had Alzheimer's. They didn't know what they had. And he got permission from the family to do an autopsy after her death, and had looked at her brain, which was half the size of a normal brain, and that was how he discovered the disease. But right now, after 112 years, or 13 years actually, we're no closer to finding out how to detect this disease. Usually by the time you see it, you've already had the disease for 10 to 15 years. If you then can detect it, we don't have anything to slow it down, and we definitely don't have anything to cure it. So we're working very, very hard. Nobody in CART gets a salary. 100% of everything that the Rotarians put in those blue buckets. And then Rick Johnson came up with this idea about the Balsam Range concert, which I tell you, if I wasn't laughing, I was stomping my feet to the music. So, it's one of the greatest events to cheer you up, to get you laughing about things that maybe you wouldn't laugh about all the time.
But this is a great opportunity. Yeah, this is a great opportunity. Norm Rogers with us for a few more moments here. Again, regional chair of CART. And for those who've never heard of that, it's Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust. And as he was just sharing with us, this is an opportunity to raise money for that organization through the Rotary clubs. In this particular case, it's the Rotary Club of Morehead City, and it's related to the Balsam Range concert, March 15, at Glad Tidings Church in Morehead City, March 15. By the way, general admission tickets, $40, and they have balcony tickets, $30. And I will just say that there is not a bad seat in that facility, and that's the Glad Tidings Church, which is directly across from West Carteret High School in Morehead City, very easily reached by any number of avenues. So, this is a great opportunity, Norm, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I think this is a great opportunity for the community for two things. One, make a contribution to a very worthwhile organization, but two, to understand the immensity of this disease, this condition, whatever you wish to call it, and the fact, and you just touched on something, and we'll talk about this at another time, but the impact it has on family members and caregivers. So I appreciate your time this afternoon, and thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me, and I would love to tell everyone in Morehead City, thank you for your support. We appreciate it. March
15th, Balsam Range, and it's to raise money for Alzheimer's research. And our guest this afternoon, Norm Rogers. And Norm, I'm going to ask you to stay with me. I'll chat with you briefly off air.